it up, pump it up.
Trae.
Come on, come on. Pump it up, pump it up.
It's the day with
This is the day to gain inspiration, to make a positive change in the nation. We're inviting you to partake in conversation, to raise your vibration. It's the day that we will all celebrate all of our peace that make this thing elevate. Watch the negative fade away, because it's the day with Trae.
Grand Rising, everyone. Welcome to the Day with Trae. I'm your host, Trae Holiday. I get to welcome you to a magnificent Monday, and I want to thank you for starting your week off with us today. You know, I'm really excited. I got some phenomenal guests in the building. First, we're going to be speaking to Tifa Tomb. She's a phenomenal director, editor, and producer. We're going to be hearing about her work with PBS. And later on in the show, we have the Day with Trae intern, Naomi Kirori, in the building. Y'all, I'm so excited to start on this journey with her. She is coming from Clark, Atlanta. She's a native of Seattle. And I'm so glad that she's chosen to grace us with her intellect and desire to learn. So we'll be talking to her later on in the show, but y'all know the whole routine here. It is the top of the show, right? So it's the perfect time for you to help us grow here on the Day with Trae by tagging this show and sharing this show with folks who you feel could benefit from a daily dose of dopeness that we give you right here on the Day with Trae. And you know, if you can't watch us, don't even trip. We got you covered, because you can listen to us anywhere you find your favorite podcast as well. So search whatever platform is your favorite on the podcasting side. You'll also find us there. A huge shout out to our podcasting team for making sure that our audio is crisp for all of you listeners. And before I get into it with my guest today, I'm really excited because, of course, Garfield has had a tradition probably since its inception, which is Purple and White Day. And I am so pleased to bring you an amazing production shot by Francisco Lopez and produced by our very own Omari Salisbury. Y'all, check out Purple and White Day 2024.
It seems as if, you know, in the times of tragedy, adversity, that's where you find some of the greatest strength. And I've seen Garfield literally rise out of the ashes of that. And even now, you know, with the grieving and the hurt and dealing with this trauma, we are rebuilding that strength. We're rebuilding that trust. We're rebuilding that sustainability for us to move as a cohesive unit and continue to move as a community. This Garfield community is historical. Been here since 1922, so we're 102 years in, and to see the people rallying how they're rallying right now just gives more credence to the mission and the vision that was initially put in this particular institution of Garfield High School. This Garfield community, I believe, is going to be stronger because of the things that are being put in place right now, of how the community is finding ways to overcome and to be able to stand on principles, morals, values, and ethics, and being able to pass those tools along to those who are walking out of the door and also those who are coming in. Today is just another relevant piece of why yesterday was so important, of community coming together, walking together, showing that we can do this, and the community not going from the streets and to the outside of the stairs, but coming into the gym and showing people that we do care, that this is not an accident, this is not just a seasonal thing, but this is something that they're being intentional about, the community's being intentional about, and for the students to see that community, for the students to feel that again, it gives them reassurance for their safety, it gives them reassurance of why they're coming here to get their education, and that's the message that we want to push, and I'm grateful that we're being able to capture all those moments. Today was a place to kind of exhale today. It was celebratory at the same time, remembering Amar's life, and to see his students and his friends and everybody, his peers, celebrating him and loving on his family. It was good to see people loving on each other. You know, it felt like it was a good energy in here, and just kind of a moment to exhale from all the things that's been going on through the last week. We're going to rise up from this. We're going to be stronger because people are tired of being sick and tired. And I can't help but acknowledge the sentiments that's even on your hoodie right now. No excuses. The excuses have to stop. We can't keep saying what we can't do. We have to stand up and be intentional about how we're going to move forward. We're going to have a dramatic change in how we lead and how we are proactive in trying to prevent this senselessness of gun violence, the senselessness of people being out of control and this type of behavior. We have to stand up and do something. I want everybody to know that even if you feel like you're by yourself, you're not. Because somebody is waiting to extend that love to you and willing to extend that love to you. Whoever's listening to this, please understand that you matter. That every day you wake up with a heartbeat and a pulse, that is another opportunity for you to be better than you were yesterday and you to get closer to your purpose. I want people to believe in themselves and believe in the community that surrounds you.
Wow. So beautiful. Huge shout out to Francisco and Omari and our editors for pulling that together. You know, that just happened this past weekend. And as a fellow Bulldog myself, you know, of course, this Purple and White Day had a special significance for all of the staff, the faculty, all of the students. Of course, because of what has taken place there recently, huge shout out to the Murphy Payne family, Amar's family, and all of those who are continuing to uplift the good nature that is born and bred at Garfield High. Well, y'all, I'm excited because I get to actually talk to a fellow creative about her creative works. Up next, we got Tifa Tomb in the building. What's up, Tifa?
Hey Trey, how you doing?
Good, how are you?
I'm doing good. I'm excited to be here in the studios.
Yeah, no, I'm so glad to have you. You know, we started knowing each other because I was like, yo, I needed a bunch of editing help and you were there and you are doing so many different phenomenal things. Before we get into one of your newest works, tell us about what got you into the field of creative and production.
Actually, I've always been interested in TV and film. When I was a kid, we used to watch The Muppet Show on TV, and that was kind of the first time that I understood that there's people who make TV. And so ever since then, I kind of been fascinated with creating, but I didn't really turn it into sort of a career until I moved here to Seattle in 2015. Prior to that, I was in education for a long time. So moved here, started volunteering on sets, started volunteering at the Northwest Film Forum, started getting to know people who are in the industry, and people have just been really generous with resources and opportunities. And so started as an editor and then just started directing. I've directed a couple of short films and started producing a couple years ago.
Wow. Well, you know, the one thing that I really love is, you know, we have such an amazing creative scene here in Seattle, and it's not really known to the rest of the country. It's like certain big productions have popped up and people will always name 10 Things I Hate About You and all like the big movies. There's like a few that people really know of that have been shot here in Seattle, but there is such beauty to behold in Washington State. And I love that now we're opening that up. Tell us about, you know, this newfound effort to fund creative works here in the state that you, like your perspective of what that looks like and what that means for the creative community.
Yeah, I think it's really big because there's a lot of independent or lower budget projects. There's a lot of people who live in Washington who want to stay in Washington, don't necessarily want to go to another place to make stuff, so they want to make the stuff here, but it's not necessarily like $1 million project or something like that. So I think with the King County Creative Fund, not the Creative Fund, something else. I'm blanking on the name of it right now, and with Washington Filmworks, I think they're really trying to make sure that there's a pipeline for people to go inside of a structure. So if you want to learn, you can like sort of work your way up. And so I think that's happening. There's a new location that the city of Seattle just opened up for independent filmmakers, where the old KCTS building used to be at Seattle Center. So that's kind of exciting. I think it's great. We need more resources. We need locations. We need funding. Funding is important. But yeah, I think that there's a lot of, like you said, really talented people here who want to create stuff and want to make stuff. And I'm excited to see where it's going.
Yeah, I agree. I think there's always been this notion that, you know, when you're a creative, you have to leave in order to really make a living for yourself, if that's where you want to go. And the fact that Washington is starting to understand, wait a minute, we're losing a lot of great talent, you know, who ends up being big names on all these other productions when they could have done it here, we're losing out. And so I really appreciate that as a state, it's being looked at. I think Seattle has some specific programming, but it's great to see that there's this drive towards it. When you think about the things that drive you towards creative projects, you know, as a producer, what are some of those stories you're looking to uplift through your work?
Yeah, well, the project that I'm working on right now for the Black Art Legacies is with Cascade Media, the local PBS station. And the thing that drew me to it was, like I said, I moved here in 2015 and started working in film. And I was really drawn to this project because it's documenting Seattle Black artists, past and present. And I felt like a really good opportunity to learn the history of Seattle. I lived in California all my life, and so moving here was kind of like a big shift for me. And documenting the artists here is kind of a way to pay homage and honor the spirit of creative people before me and all around me right now. So that's what drew me to this project. That's what I wanted to do. I feel really honored to be able to document the legacies, the artists, people's work here. Like there's people on this season. One of the people is DJ Riz Rollins, who's been around in the community and part of the community for 35 years. And so just to talk to people, just to know their stories and to understand the process of their creative work too, has been really inspirational for me as an artist. And yeah, it's just something that people can come back and look at. And there's so many more stories out there too that haven't been told yet.
Yeah, so many stories. And I love that PBS is really working with, you know, local creatives and providing an opportunity for even some of the newer producers to really get that experience and that level of, you know, production value that ends up happening with PBS and the way they tell stories. You know, someone just said it to me the other day, well, you know, it's a trusted source, right? And it's like, yeah, because over their lifetime, you know, when you think about public broadcasting, that was really, you know, something that was always going to be for the people. And the idea that they are still going strong and they are having more intentionality to uplift these local stories in this way is really interesting. But there's a whole program, a whole project really for these creative stories. And, you know, how did you find yourself connected to these opportunities? Tell us more, because there's probably others out there that are like, man, how do I learn? How do I get on?
For specifically with PBS?
Yeah.
Well, they did a call out. They were looking for Black creative filmmakers to work with because they thought it was important that Black filmmakers were the ones telling the stories. So they just looked for freelance Black filmmakers, and that I responded. And they had seen a short film that I directed in 2020 called Wretch, and they appreciated that. So I think for people that are interested, look for those open calls. Make sure your work is ready to show, because they want to know, like, what have you done in the past? And yeah, just open up to the opportunities.
Yeah. You know, we also have a lot of local film screenings here. And I just want to get your perspective on this too, because I'm loving to see this explosion of creativity in Seattle. We got scope screenings. I just saw another screening that's happening in West Seattle, West Sound. There's a lot of film screenings now. We got the Black Seattle Film Festival. So when I think about the opportunities to showcase work, which is really what a creative, a producer is looking to do, how have all of these kinds of opportunities bode well for what the work that you're doing?
I love Scope. It is such a vibe. It's an amazing experience. If anybody out there hasn't done it, you should definitely go to a screening. Seattle Black Film Festival is also amazing. I think It's really nice to sit in a theater and have your audience view your work. It's very validating. It feels like something that you made is very tangible now and not just inside your head. So that feels really, really good. And it feels good community-wise too. When I went to the Lex screenings, when I go to Seattle Black Film Festival, it's an opportunity to connect with other filmmakers, other creatives. And we don't always get that because we're working and lives are so busy and stuff like that. So in a way, it kind of feels like a family reunion every time. And it's great to see people that you haven't seen, or it's somebody that you worked with a year ago and you haven't seen them in a long time. So yeah, I really appreciate all those opportunities.
Well, I love that piece too, because you're right. Being in space together allows us to build relationship and create other collaborations, right? Where it's like, oh, I have this idea, and then somebody's like, oh my gosh, I had something similar. Like now we can combine and we can connect on this, and I get it, right? And so I love that you're finding some real value in these areas and these opportunities to connect. So for this, PBS Creative Works, honoring artistic legacies like this, what were some of those highlights for you as you were doing this project?
Yeah, I'm so glad you asked me that question because I really loved profiling Cypher Goings, who is the local tap dancer. He's been working with Northwest Tap Connection for many years. And that was really cool because my son also takes tap there. And so he used to be his teacher. And so I kind of had like a little bit of in with the history. And then Cypher talked about the history of tap in this country. And so incorporating Cypher's journey with sort of the history of tap was really, really cool. Cypher's one of those people that's, I feel like is just on the cusp of like national stardom, and is super amazingly talented. So it was just so cool to see his work, and we kind of made him tap a little too, like we were trying to get the shots. So I do feel bad about that, but he was amazing. He was a professional. Sitting down with Riz was amazing because he was kind of like your uncle telling stories about Seattle, about the music scene here, the grunge scene. He was like the first person to play Nirvana on local radio. So it's just like all of these touch points, all of these connections between these artists and this history, it makes up the story of what Seattle is. And I don't think that, like I know moving here, I don't think that those stories have been as loud as they should be in terms of what the tapestry of what Seattle is and what makes it so vibrant and so beautiful here. So that's just like playing a part in that has just been the best part.
Well, you know what? I'm just so glad that you came here to the Day with Trae to give us some light and a little bit of details about what folks can expect. Of course, I got to be right and make sure folks know how to tap in and how to watch the amazing show that you help produce. Look right here. Let them know how they stay plugged in.
Yeah, you can find all of the episodes on Cascade Public Media's website, kcts.org. You can also join us if you're around on Tuesday. Today's the 16th,
today's Monday.
18th. Okay, so Tuesday the 18th at Washington Hall. You do have to RSVP, but tickets are free, and it's a great community celebration. There'll be food, performances, and some sneak previews of the show as well.
Right on. Tifa Tomb, thank you so much for joining me today. Great to have you here and great to have you in our community overall, Tifa.
Thank you, Trae.
Absolutely. Oh, wow, y'all. What an amazing experience to hear about some of the phenomenal work we're able to produce right here in the Pacific Northwest. I get to now speak to a young intern who is going to be making her mark in the creative world one day, but starting with us right here on The Day with Trae. Up next, we got Naomi Kirori, our intern for The Day with Trae. So excited that she's joining me. Y'all do not want to miss this. Stay tuned. You're watching The Day with Trae.
Join Cascade PBS for its third year of celebrating local Black artists featured in its Black Art Legacies project. The evening will include performances by artists featured in the project, a portrait gallery of this year's artists, video highlights from the series, food, dancing, and more. Join us Tuesday, June 18th at 6:30 p.m. at Washington Hall. Learn more and RSVP for your free tickets at cascadepbs.org/events.
birthright to be indigenous is being stolen from them by politicians that have been elected to lead.
Today, the latest or last chapter of the saga concerns the threatened physical ejectment of as many as 21 Nooksack families from their homes.
I think it's come about by hatred for our family. That's what it's all about.
Our bloodline is still here. You know, they can't get rid of us.
Welcome back, everyone, to the Day with Trae. I'm your host, Trae Holiday. Really excited because, y'all, this is a full-on team effort, and we have a new addition to our team who is joining us today for the first day. And so we thought it would be very special to capture this moment of this beginning on camera. And we're going to wrap it up at the end of the internship, too, so she could tell all about her experience. But welcome, Naomi. Hi.
Hey,
how are you?
Happy to be here. I'm doing well. How are you doing?
I am so great. And, you know, you and I connected last year, I think at Juneteenth.
Yes.
You were volunteering and you were organizing. And I love that you sought out an opportunity to do something additional while you're back home, because you're already working, right? But you were like, no, let me learn something. So I want to ask you about your first kind of understanding that you loved creative. That's always something that I think is a driving force for you to do something like this. Tell us about some of those early moments for you.
Well, as a kid, I used to watch Shake It Up by Zendaya, and I was like, I want to be a singer, dancer, and actor just like her. I always knew I wanted to create space, because I didn't know what was space where I fit in necessarily through school. And then also just being in community programs as a child, those were also spaces I wanted to kind of bring in myself into other communities that maybe didn't have that or lacked that. So that's kind of where my creativity kind of sparked, is my interest in kind of making something and calling it my own.
Yeah. You know, there's something special too about the freedom of creativity for me, especially something like this, where I think you couldn't have told me back in the day that I'd have my own show, and I just get to be myself and my authentic self at that and bring it every single day. And that for me is something that I really hold near and dear to my heart. When you think about, you know, learning and growing, because there's so many facets of the world of creative and film, TV, radio, production, what are some things that you feel are already highlights that you really want to hone in on?
Ooh. I kind of want to hone in on like documentaries and kind of continue that realm. I think there's a lot of coverage already being shown more now. Like, for example, representation now is like grown so much when it comes to the Black community, when it comes to the queer community, specifically the Black and queer community. So I just want to continue kind of like storytelling and kind of take over and kind of go in that path. So either that could be film, movies, or that could kind of be TV, talk show type vibe, or documentaries. I personally like, just because I got the opportunity in 8th grade to kind of do one about women around Seattle and how they felt in society. And I felt like that honed in on their voice and really impacted the organization that I did it through. And it was a really big hit. So I kind of want to continue doing that momentum.
Yeah. You know, there's something really special about the world we live in being reflected through the creative of the time. And that could be art, you know, being painted by artists. It could be books that are written. It could be film, TV, you know, even the aesthetics of modeling. And I think about like editorial work and how all of that, if you look back through time, it's going to reflect signs of the times. I say zeitgeist a lot. Y'all know, because I'm always like, I say zeitgeist so much, but it is the sign of the times. And I love that there are folks like yourselves who are going to bring your brilliance into the world of production and creative, because there's a lot of documentaries, but there's always another story that hasn't been told, right? Or hasn't been told from a certain perspective. And so I appreciate that, because when you think about adding to this large plethora, right? Smorgasbord that we have before us of all this creative. It's beautiful to hear you say that, because there's some story in your mind that has not been in anyone else's mind, and that you'll get to bring to life. Let's talk a bit about college life. You are at Clark Atlanta. This is huge. You're at a HBCU coming from the Pacific Northwest. Tell us a bit about that transition.
It was a big adjustment. Just coming from a space, well, I didn't even know about HBCU until high school. Luckily, shout out to Life Enrichment Group of Seattle that took me on HBCU tours and told me like, hey, you can do anything you put your mind to, like, and we're going to show you, and we're going to take you on this HBCU tour. So I wouldn't have been at Clark Atlanta or knew about Clark Atlanta without them. So thanks to Miss Monica. But I just grinded during my high school years. I stayed in my books. Education is really important to my mom. She's like, you can do anything, just stay in your books. So I knew that college wasn't affordable for me. So I applied to a bunch of scholarships. I have a full ride now at Clark, and I'm going into my third year. Thanks to Clark Atlanta, I have a scholarship with them, and College Possible, which is another program dedicated to helping low-income people get to college. So coming from Seattle to the South was a big thing for me, because my great-grandmother came from Mississippi to Seattle to, have a better life for her family. And so kind of like going back to Atlanta and kind of like being in that space of culture was very different for me. Seattle's very liberal, very diverse. And so kind of going to Atlanta, where it's like majority, everyone looks like me, and everyone's like, it's like Black Hollywood. So it's so beautiful to see, and the dimensions of different people that I got to meet and the friends that I've created. So it's really been amazing.
I mean, you're such a shining example. I think about my early days and that transition from Garfield to Howard. I like you, I didn't go on a tour, but I had already visited Howard, and it was like everything. And I was a part of National Society of Black Engineers, NSBE, and we got to do the NSBE conference. And that was the first, I think, time that I saw so many Black people. There's like 20,000 Black high school and college students together for this conference, and I was blown away. And the experience was like, oh my gosh, there's so many similarities that I maybe haven't been able to explore, because I was around a lot of Black kids growing up, but I also was friends with all kind of people. And so I had this really widespread kind of friend group, but some of my core friends, it was like, man, we're in it. And to experience that, it was like so eye-opening and life-altering for me. So I love hearing that you were able to go. Yes, huge shout out to Monica. We love Monica here on The Day with Trae. And to be able to provide those opportunities for young folks, and for you to feel like you're at a place, and kudos to you for the full ride, by the way, right? You're at a place that can pour into you in such a phenomenal way. I'm just so grateful that you're here. Lastly, I got to ask, I mean, you're working with me, you're working with our team here. What are some things you're really looking to learn?
Oh, everything. I don't know if that's too vague. I think when I first met you, I knew, I was like, I want to do that. I don't know what we're calling that, because you wear a lot of hats, but I just want to do that. You're a boss woman, and I look up to a lot of Black women. Black women have raised me, raised by a single Black mom, shout out to my, grandma and auntie that passed, but they also raised me too. So seeing a Black woman like do what she wants to do and is so passionate about community and media and creativity and liberation for our people, like I want to learn from that person and also be able to take it and then shape it into my own thing as well. Like it's really important for me about legacy and carrying on the torch. So being able to have a strong mentor and support system's really been beneficial in me getting to Clark thus far, and I know will continue to take me to heights that I've never even dreamed of. So
I gotta say, it's so divine. It's divine timing, and it's by divine design, because I was looking for you two, girl. Right? Like one of my mentors, shout out to Miss Dawn Mason. She would always ask me, who are you, preparing to take your spot, essentially? Like, who is the next Trae? And in their own way, like you said, right? And I was like, ooh, that's a good question because I don't know yet, right? And I work with phenomenal young Black women, but none of them really have this like passion for what I do necessarily, like media driven. So when we connected, and I'm like hosting and I'm all over the place, and you were just like, you need help? Like, how can I help? I was like, oh, okay. You stuck around. And I think there's something very serious about the level of dedication that's not seen. All the things that happen behind the scenes, all of the long hours that it takes to wear as many hats as I'm grateful that I do. But that's something that I'm really excited to explore with you this summer, Naomi. So thank you so much for, seeking out this opportunity and for coming at the right time. Of course, if folks are trying to stay plugged in with you and your socials as you share your journey along the way, look right there. Let them know how they stay plugged in.
Okay, you can connect with me on LinkedIn, Naomi Kirori, so Naomi, and then my last name is Kirori. Also, you can follow my Instagram at _Naomi Kirori.
Oh, Naomi, thank you so much for joining us in the Black Media Matter studios today and joining me for this journey.
Yes, thank you for having me.
Oh my goodness, y'all. What a phenomenal Monday. Y'all know I'm going to wrap all of this up right after this short break. Stay tuned. You're watching The Day with Trae.
Let's start the show.
Here on Back to Besa, it's always been important to me that we uplift stories from across the region and that no matter where you live in the nation, you never have to miss a moment of the show as we continue to highlight the beauty, excellence, and resilience of our communities across the Pacific Northwest. Why? Because representation matters. So no matter where you live, be it the Central District or Centralia, Portland or Pullman, or anywhere across the country, I encourage you to join me on this Back to Besa journey by downloading the free Fox Local app on your phone or smart TV as we continue to elevate the very best in our communities.
Seattle really is just a big neighborhood. It was a place for us to grow.
We all have a gift of some sort. It's just my vision of what I see.
Theater allows you to hit harder and be more. There's a sense of hope that your story will survive longer than you will.
Stream on the Cascade PBS app or watch live. Fridays at 8:50 p.m. on Cascade PBS. Learn more at blackartslegacies.com.
Welcome back, everyone, to The Day with Trae. I'm your host, Trae Holiday. I just got to thank you so much for starting your week off with me, and a huge shout out to my guest, Tifa Tomb, and of course, Naomi Kirori. I'm so excited that they were both here today to shed some light on not only some creative works that are happening now, but another creative, brilliant mind soon to come and to hit the creative community in waves. So looking forward to what Naomi pours in to the continuation of the creative community. And, if you are someone who is seeking out other opportunities, never be afraid to tap into someone who is doing what you want to do. Someone just said that to me, look for, mentors who are where you want to be and learn from them. And I'm so grateful that what I'm doing is something that Naomi wants to learn from. It's such a cycle. And even me working with Tifa, and I was so impressed by Tifa's editorial skills to see her now, producing works for PBS and helping to shine light on these amazing Black Art Legacies, for all of these amazing Black artists. This is something in terms of the creative community that can always use more creativity. So if you're someone who is wanting to pour into creative community and you don't know where to start, please reach out, look for those who are doing what you want to do. You never know. They could be in the need for an intern as well. Looking forward to showing y'all some things that Naomi's able to learn throughout her time with me at the end of her internship this summer. So y'all be on the lookout for that. But of course, you know me, I'm back with y'all tomorrow at 11 a.m. And until then, y'all, peace.
Converge Media produces culturally relevant content for Black and urban audiences. Our coverage is raw, transparent, and objective, praised by community leaders, government officials, and residents. Support Converge Media today via Venmo, Cash App, or PayPal at Converge Media.